Hey, it's Michael, and we are making it to week five, halfway through, and now the real fun begins. And my hope is that you're all keeping up because we do change and bring a new light to some ideas that we're trying from week to week. So everything is a progression. But let me talk about HTML really quick. That is due, the assignment two is due this week, which is a markup of three records of your ideas around using this controlled language. It's a controlled language. It's very small, right? Like this is all you get. And honestly, it's all pretty easy to read because it's all English, right? So if you learn the concept of markup, which is begin tag, end tag, and then grouping, which is taking bunches of tags and beginning and ending them at the end. This is the only real challenge, I hope, of this week is to understand the syntax of nesting and the syntax of hierarchy, because things inside of a tag are different from outside of a tag. So in terms of feedback, I know a lot of you posted on Monday. Uh, Monday is not the time to get feedback from me. Sorry, I'm really wrapping things up. If you've come in earlier, you've seen I hopefully have given feedback, which all of you, I believe, can benefit from. Really, it seems as though you're all doing something different, but you all are really doing kind of the same thing. So please look at and understand that I'm trying to give feedback to specific ideas, but they're all generically hopefully useful. And I want to be I want to be a coach here because I'm not expecting mastery. These are all exercises that you're going to use later to really try and understand something that you might, in the beginning of this class, you might not be able to understand, right? You're going to understand how information architecture affects these massive, massive data sets. And so these are all just practice, just letting you know. Try not to get too hung up or too worried about it because there really is the only thing you can really do wrong is to not participate. But we're still going to put a twist on things. But if you did share and you didn't get feedback from me, great. You can do it this week because I just put a place right in here. Hopefully you get this video, watch it early in the week, right? Right. Hopefully right away. If you did not get feedback, just go ahead. You can just copy and paste, by the way. You can just say copy with Control C and you can paste it right here. So if you didn't get feedback, put it here because I don't want to go back and give feedback on old murals because we're still continuing the same topic. But now we've got a new twist, okay? So you just learned a controlled vocabulary called HTML. You don't get to invent tags, even though you start with inventing tags, which I do on purpose. Do you understand? The column names are meaningful. If without them, some things don't make any sense. Many of you might have even struggled like, hey, I don't know this number in my table, number 12. I have to give it a label because it's just a number 12. It doesn't mean anything. And yes, that is incredibly on purpose because as an architect, you're trying to do hopefully as much as you can with as little as possible, right? You don't want to have 10 doorways in your house that all have to be interconnected, and you don't want basically the confusion that comes from from lacking clarity, which is where we started, right? I was in the airport yesterday. To have a number as a gate and have signs that say numbers here and there, those are all very useful because you understand numbers in the context of a gate. You're just like, oh, I'm going to gate three. It's between gate two and four, right? Numbers are useful, but qualitative things sometimes aren't useful, but they're more powerful because you don't often need a label. For example, many of you have actors, right? You could put an actor's name and not have the label actor because honestly, if you're using their name, hopefully someone's heard of them. That's the whole point. So remember, the title of the thing doesn't have to have a labels called title, hopefully. So think about that because you're going to continue to refine your markup. What you're trying to do is come up with words now that are a controlled vocabulary that everybody understands. This is called the beginning of taxonomy. Now we're still just in the information phase, but taxonomy is the word for this. And this is really the big job of library science. It's the job of information architecture. This word taxonomy should be part of your life but you maybe have never heard of that word. So here's some explanation, and here's where we're moving, and we're trying to take things that are in the real world and give them some context. Very important, right? If without taxonomies, honestly, we wouldn't understand much, right? We love grouping things as humans because things are too complicated to all be individual. But we have a lot of words for things. So here's my favorite scene from an old movie called Diner, where she's really mad at this guy because he's always obsessive about organization. Okay? Here is a example of you don't have to use the words necessarily that are understood. Wine has a lot of varietals. That's a taxonomy right there. But you can also use these other words. And beer. I love beer. And here's just the world of beer and all the nobody chose beer this time, but there are a lot of words to describe beer. There's a word to describe colors and just in fact, we're good at coming up with words, which is this idea of a hashtag. We invent a word to try to describe something. So we're good at grouping. However, grouping and displaying things change over time. But here's our friend Linnaeus, right? So he invented all the taxonomy around how to understand the world of nature and animals. So he invented all those words, like all those Latin words that describe things, because without describing things, you cannot talk about things. So taxonomy, taxonomy, taxonomy is this week. I want to make sure, and I've hinted at it several weeks in the past, that the words you use are really important. There's a little exercise here about keywords. Now, keywords are unique words, and they're only one word. Let's make this clear. They're not phrases, they're one word that is unique to the world that you're in, meaning I can't, if I say the word book, I guess that is a word unique to the world of books, but it's a very not very powerful word, right? You it's pretty well known. But let's say a volume or a encyclopedia is a very specific word about books. So I want you to think that over. I just pasted someone's thing here for feedback on how you're doing with your assignment one. But remember, these assignments are exercises. They're there to get you to think. If you are at all working on it, and especially adding this taxonomy to it is kind of a big deal this week, post it again. I'm here. Just mention me. I'll give you some feedback. Are there existing taxonomies? I would say kind of. I know a couple don't have taxonomies. That's going to be rough. You might have to invent a taxonomy. And, we'll work on it. I'll help you. And this is like just getting you ready. What is going to be the way you can see these groups? So if you're using genre, for example, that's a pretty normal taxonomy of genre for music and things like that. But think about it. Tell me your thoughts. So that's this week. We're going to end and submit our assignment. We're still in the world of information, letting you know next week we will actually switch tactics. And good luck. Let me know how it goes. I'm here to help.